In this week's episode of Mobile Suit Gundam Iron-Blooded Orphans, Tekkadan goes into a decisive battle against Gjallarhorn, which results in the deaths of a lot of major key characters. Spoiler warning, if you have not watched this week's episode of Mobile Suit Gundam Iron-Blooded Orphans, there were a lot of big character deaths in this episode. There was a lot of action, there was a lot of drama, a lot of political intrigue, and this was nothing short of a perfect episode of Iron-Blooded Orphans and a fantastic build-up to the finale of the first season of this intensely awesome Gundam anime series. I cannot do the drama of this week's episode justice. There are some major character deaths. Azee, laughter, frickin' Shino. Shino ends up getting killed by frickin' Ein. Yes, Ein, who finally returns in this week's episode to pilot his brand new mobile suit, the Gray's Ein, which is a literal fusion of man and mobile suit, and it results in arguably some of the best action that I've seen from the series. The mobile suit battles in this week's episode were well animated and incredibly intense. I mean, the Gray's Ein alone is one of the most unique mobile suits I've seen from the series. All of its cool abilities, its giant axe, its hidden machine guns under its shoulders. Hell, its legs can literally turn into drills, which he can use to aim directly for the cockpits. That's actually how he ended up killing Laughter in this week's episode. He killed Azee with a frickin' axe, literally destroying the entire top half of the mobile suit. With his Alaya Vijnana system, his skills as a mobile suit pilot, and this brand new customized Grays, he literally has become one with his mobile suit to where his reaction and power might be more powerful than Mikazuki. Yeah, that was actually stated in this week's episode. Even the battle with Shino, which honestly ended way too frickin' quick. I mean, just as soon as Ein got in his face, he just completely destroyed him with his axe, crushed his entire head, and then ripped him from his cockpit, crushing him in his hand like a frickin' grape. I'm not sure if Shino is officially killed. There really wasn't a full confirmation of that, but I don't see them actually surviving the battle here, and it's so sick because this is just a perfect demonstration of how getting your revenge really isn't going to solve anything. Because, yeah, he got his revenge for Crank in this episode. He got his mobile suit back and all that jazz. And after that, he's still a complete freaking psychopath in this episode. He just wants to murder all of these kids. Ein is one of the most disturbing characters that I've seen from the series. And clearly, he's been twisted by everything that's happened to him and the fact that he's had all of these modifications done to his body. Just, the intensity of all of it, man. It's just so crazy. And combined with all that, then you just got a lot of other random mobile suit action. So, the action in this week's episode is going to blow your mind, but a lot of the other story elements this week are pretty damned great, especially when Orga realizes that in order to actually go up against Gjallarhorn, it's going to result in the deaths of practically everyone. They're all going to have to make this noble sacrifice, and it's really tough because frickin' Gjallarhorn just has, like, so many things at their disposal. They have so many soldiers, so many mobile workers, and they've been holding them off for 3 days. So basically, this is like the final last-ditch effort to finally get into the city so we can get this Makanai guy to this frickin' election. We've got to get there, and it is going to result into some really disturbing imagery because there's this big speech moment where Orga decides, he's like, all right, this is it. This is the final mission. You're all going to die, but this is for the sake of the future, and this is what we are going to stand for. Of course, Marybit Stapleton is not for any of this. She pleads, she cries, but she's not going to get through to these kids. They are on a mission, and holding back the tears during this scene, especially when Takaki actually puts on Biscuit's hat, just, it was so well done and such a great build-up to them making their final assault, which indeed does result in the death of many characters, many of them being very young, which again reminds you that this is some very dark subject material with these kids actually going into battle. I have to admit, though, there was a really great scene where Eugene and the other members of the Tekkadan crew come down in mobile workers, claiming themselves to be the hero, and they actually help out a lot in allowing Orga, Takaki, Kudelia, Ina Bernstein, and Makanai into getting in the city, but as soon as they start to get close, we get to see that after Ein has just like annihilated all of these people, he immediately confronts them in the city, and he decides he goes up right against Cordelia Ina Bernstein. She's just boldly standing right in front of his mobile suit, and basically he's just going insane steadily, being reminded that if it wasn't for her, Lieutenant Crank probably would not have been killed, and basically he's trying to find an excuse to kill her right now, and it's really sick because you have the other members of the Tekkadan crew who are trying to protect her. When they show up in a mobile worker, his gun just immediately comes down from the shoulder and takes them out. That's how quick his reaction time is. And then, of course, at the very end of this episode, Mikazuki shows up in the Gundam Barbados, getting ready to throw down with Ein. He was previously having an amazingly epic confrontation with Gaelio Bodine, but then he gets confronted by, of all people, the leader of the Montag organization, otherwise known as McGillis Farid. McGillis Farid is going to try and kill Gaelio personally, and the death bells are just ringing for Gaelio at this point. He's almost certainly going to be killed in the next episode. The amount of just build-up and drama and action from this episode is just amazing. Best episode of Iron-Blooded Orphans that I've seen from the entire series. So what's the rundown on this week's episode of Iron-Blooded Orphans? This was a perfect episode, in my humble opinion. Perfectly paced, lots of great action, some amazing drama, and tons of great character moments from pretty much every major player of the series. And the best part is, they wasted no time in getting into it. Like, it immediately opened up with some intense action, letting the viewers know that basically they've been having a standoff with Galahorn for 3 days. They're at the end of their line, and I love that Mikazuki doesn't even look tired. Like, he is so comfortable with just being a warrior. Again, portraying him as a slightly creepy character, and I can't really wait to see what's going to happen to him at the end of the episode next week, because he's going up against Ein, who was said to be stronger than Mikazuki, but I think maybe this is just building him up a little bit. He's almost certainly going to be defeated by Mikazuki in the next episode, unless the series is just going to do something really bold and kill off the main Gundam pilot in the end of the first season. That would be really ridiculous. With this series, it's kind of hard to tell, because characters can pretty much die at just about any moment, and this episode made that painfully clear, especially with the character death of Shino. I did not see him getting killed in this week's episode. It made me realize, oh shit, it could be Akihiro the next moment, Eugene might be getting killed. I've grown so accustomed to these characters, and that scene with Takaki putting on Biscuit's hat was so perfect in this episode. It really almost brought a tear to my eye. Just all of the drama was just as good as the action in this week's episode, as well as all the twists and turns. I loved when McGillis Farid showed up at the very end. Now he's getting ready to go up against Gaelio. He's probably going to reveal everything to him like right before he kills him. That is, if Gaelio is killed, he might actually survive. I'd like to actually see more from that character, but then again, this kind of reminds me of the scenario from the original Mobile Suit Gundam with McGillis Farid being Char Aznable and Bodine, or Gaelio, actually being Garma Zabi. Like, he even kind of looks like him a little bit, and this is like his plan to get him killed. It's just going to be so awesome. The fact that he's in his new mobile suit as well. And the Grey's Ein, that new mobile suit that was revealed in this week's episode, is great. I originally thought it was going to be a Gundam frame just because of the crests that were on the head. But no, it's basically just this super souped up mobile suit, which is just... Oh, I love the drill legs. That's so cool. Like, when I saw that, like, I jumped out of my chair and I was like, yes! That's the type of shit I want to see. More unique stuff like that. Definitely the best enemy mobile suit that I've seen from the series thus far. Then again, there have been some pretty memorable mobile suits from the first season. I can't wait to see how they're going to up the ante in Season 2, and I can't wait to see what they're going to do with the finale of this series. This is definitely one of the most unique Gundams I've ever seen, and this episode definitely plays to its biggest strengths, which is a reason to check out this week's episode. So, Iron-Blooded Orphans fans, fantastic episode this week. I'm going to give it a 5 out of 5. It was perfect across the board. Check it out, rewatch it again with friends, and rewatch it before you watch next week's episode, as it's just going to build up the hype for the end of Season 1. But if any of you guys watched this week's episode of Iron-Blooded Orphans, make sure to tell me what you thought about it in the comments section below. What did you think of all the action scenes this week? Did any of the character deaths shock you? What did you think of the Grey's Ein? And what do you want to see from the rest of Iron-Blooded Orphans? Please tell me in the comments section below. You guys are freaking badass. Thank you for watching this review. I really appreciate it. Make sure to share it with all of your friends, and if you want, please subscribe to the channel. That way you'll be able to see all of our latest anime and manga reviews. You guys can also check us out on social media. All of that stuff is in the description box below. Thank you guys again for watching, and as always, stay dandy, baby.